Something's coming. Something unstoppable.
Look around you, my friend. How much light do you see?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because the visions of me creeping left its seeds when I was leaving.
Hate comes in every color.
And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound.
We have devised a plot to assassinate the Führer.
You will go to England as our spy.
Churchill sees Germany as a whole. He's afraid that a bomb traced to England would mean invasion or worse.
Invasion. Invasion. My country was invaded from within.
So nice to meet you. I've heard about this movie probably I don't know, a while ago. I saw a it was at the premiere for Cabrini, and they showed a trailer, and it looked really interesting. But yeah, so there have been other movies about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I haven't seen any of them. Like many, I've never even heard of him before this movie. But what kind of like got you interested in him? How did you first learn about him and decide this is gonna be a movie you're gonna write and direct?
I knew Dietrich from my early 20s when I read his book, The Cost of Discipleship. And it had a big impact on me, and I remembered that. But then I didn't have any interaction with him at all for the next 30 plus years. And then someone said, "Hey, what do you think about this man's life as a movie?" And as I dove into the research, I just thought, oh my goodness, this is one of the most cinematic lives I've ever encountered. His whole journey, even from youth when he lost his brother, but his whole journey from his early 20s was life and death. His life was an emergency, and he lived it with relentless courage and grace. And I thought, boy, the world needs to know about this guy.
And he wrote a lot of these books. I mean, obviously before the Third Reich came in power, and so he was writing a lot like through most of his life, I guess.
He wrote a lot in prison too after
Okay.
the Nazis locked him up. Yeah, 34 volumes he published, and he died at the age of 39. So it's extraordinary output. His mind was electric.
I mean, had you seen the documentary or any of the other things about him, or do you kind of just want to do your own thing and not even be affected by or influenced by any of that?
Yeah, the way I aimed was to look at his work. I wanted to meet who he was on the pages of his books, and then I wanted to meet who he was within the context of the history that he lived. So what I found really fascinating, and why I call this the untold true story, is because in America, we really don't teach much about World War II prior to America's involvement.
True.
And what happened in the early 30s when Hitler came in, and the first thing he did was take over the church. I mean, this is fascinating and terrifying. And digging into that and just finding revelation after revelation, I knew that this would set the movie apart, because we're talking about a very familiar time, but the secrets that get revealed are totally unfamiliar.
Well, I'm the son of German Jews, so I've heard first-hand accounts of Kristallnacht from my father, but obviously he wasn't going to church, so he didn't really know any of that stuff. He just knew when things were getting bad for sure. So but fortunately both my parents got out, or otherwise we would be talking. So
Thank God.
yeah, exactly. And you previously made a movie set in World War II also. So is that I mean, how did that inform the approach to this one?
It's a total accident, and they're 2 decades apart. That was a totally different experience. It was based on a novel. It was about the Belgian resistance, and this movie being a true story, it's just a totally different ball of wax. I've been very blessed over the last several years to get to tell these true stories, like Sully and Professor and the Madman, and I want to be with the people of history. I want to walk side by side and be in relationship with them and listen to them, because there are things that people from the past learned that we need to apply today. And Dietrich's lesson that he keeps teaching me is that courage is a real thing and it matters. It's not an abstraction. It's not a hope or a wish. It's in the way you live your life every day. And it's possible to be brave and not just talk about other people being brave. So he has inspired me to look at the world in a totally different way.
Well, it's interesting. I read your director's statement, and it was really powerful. And I know that was probably written like months and months and months ago. Whereas, now, with the country's like kind of going crazy. Like we don't know, it feels like it's the message is more important now than maybe when you started making this movie a couple years ago, even maybe.
Yes, that's what they call God's timing. I had nothing to do with when this movie was going to come out. I made it, and movies take forever to
I
get
know, yeah.
So it was in development for years, and then they raise the money, and then it gets made, and then here we are landing in movie theaters right in the middle of an ongoing conversation about nationalism and fascism and abuse of power. And so Dietrich's song, I almost feel like he's on top of a hill singing out to tell us, don't forget to be brave. Don't be defeated. And also, if you're on the winning side, don't isolate, don't judge, don't attack. We can only live in community. He wrote a beautiful book called Life Together. And we can only live as human beings in community. We can't live with one group saying we have all the righteousness and everybody else is bad. That a society will eat its own tail if it tries to practice that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we talk about making a historic movie. It's kind of a double-edged sword because first of all, there's not many people alive who were there, so you have to kind of you do your research on books or secondhand things. But then on the other hand, people who will contradict you so much, except for maybe scholars and I don't know who knows, but else. But I mean, so what was your research? What was it entailed in doing research for this?
Well, he has all these books.
Oh, sure.
So reading his work was that took 6 months just of reading, and then finding out this stuff through the pages of history about Hitler taking over the church, replacing the Bible with Mein Kampf. I held the Nazi Bible in my hand, and it felt like it was going to burst into flame. I mean, it was just so blasphemous, so toxic. So this stuff is real. It's out there. It's findable. And I think the notion of really digging deep has gone away for society. We tend to be lots of information, but very shallow, lots of headlines, very little research. And you'll see when a website posts something, they will tell you how long of a read it is.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They say, oh, this is a 12-minute read, or this is a 3-minute read, as if we have to have our hand held just to, do I want to give 3 minutes to this incredibly important topic? So we have to regrow some muscle and look a little deeper to understand what we say we believe.
Well, I'm guilty of that, so I'm gonna have the courage to admit that I've done that. That I've looked at how long it takes to read something and like, save it for later.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
It's crazy. Yeah. So let's talk about the casting. Getting Jonas. Is it pronounced as Jonas? Does he pronounce it that way or
Jonas?
Jonas. Okay. Like casting him. Did you see him in the Golden Glove? Was that before? Oh, okay. And what were you looking for the person playing Dietrich that he kind of fulfilled?
Well, I wanted someone young who could be believably aged to 39. I did not want an older actor who could not be believably aged down. I always hate when you see the grown man playing 18. I was like, come on, man. Everybody, and the audiences are savvy. So much easier to age up than age down. And the story of finding Jonas, completely the grace of God. I had one German filmmaker friend, a woman named Emily Teff. She's made several terrific movies. And she was my only German contact. And I wrote her a note on WhatsApp. I need a list of the top 10 actors in Germany because I'm casting Bonhoeffer. And she wrote back right away, Jonas Dassler.
Nice.
I said, well, okay, that's wonderful. I will watch his work. Thank you. But I need a list. And Emily wrote, he is the list.
Okay.
They don't even know each other.
Oh
This
wow. Okay.
is not her recommending her buddy.
Oh
This
wow.
is saying there's one person right now that is the one. And she was so right. Boy, I just was blessed beyond belief to get to work alongside this guy.
Now, is it mostly German actors and you shot in Germany? Is it all like there, or is it?
It's mostly German actors. We shot in Belgium and Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Germany is difficult to shoot in because they have a lot of bureaucracy and it takes a long time to get clearance for stuff.
Mm.
And you can pursue things and not get clearance right at the end.
Ah.
We were a movie that needed to be light on its feet and we had to shoot in a certain window of time. So that's why we shot Belgium for Germany.
And it's probably the most surprising casting, which I didn't even realize until I read the notes later, is Flula Borg. I did not see him doing a dramatic role performance. I mean, I've never seen him do anything like that ever. So it's kind of like really surprising. Was that something he kind of wanted to do as a like a change from what we've seen him do before? Or...
This was a very unexpected series of events. So I was not familiar with his comedy genius and how beloved and famous he was. But my first AD had worked with Flula on Suicide Squad. And so he knew that Flula had some chops that had not been exposed yet. And he knew Flula was German. So he asked me, would it be okay if Flula sent in a tape, an audition tape? Sure, but I didn't know who he was. He sends in the audition tape. It's by far the best audition for the role, and it's easy to offer it to him. When I offer it to him, he's kind of in disbelief. You're like, really? I really got it. And I thought, boy, this guy needs some confidence. Why is he so surprised that he got it? And then I found out because it was his first ever dramatic role. And you saw it. He did a great job. So many comedians are secretly great dramatic actors.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Unpack them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Flula and it's really fun to watch now. People saying, "Is that Flula Borg? Is it Flula Borg in that trailer?" It's all this on the internet because he's got a big fan base.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. Oddly, I'm speaking to a bunch of filmmakers this week doing period pieces. I feel like that's mostly who I'm talking to this week, and I'm curious about there's challenges there. Obviously, you shot in other places in Germany, but like trying to recreate even Harlem. Let's talk about Harlem because recreating Harlem in the 30s, you can't do that in Harlem now. You can't do that in New York anywhere. I mean, did you actually build stuff for this, or do you like just find?
There is not a single frame shot in this movie that was not on location.
Okay.
It's all real. And Harlem was a street in Brussels.
Oh, okay.
And that was a real jazz club in Brussels. And when you have a great production designer like John Beard and amazing prop people, you can make anything come to life. So it's really about art direction that sells the reality. Like we shot in Brussels for Washington, and we've got a scene at the Washington Memorial, and everyone assumes that we went to Washington, all Belgium.
Oh wow, interesting. Yeah, how far into the process did Angel Studios get involved? Were they involved? Like, did you make a whole movie by yourself and then they came in later, or did you kind of get them involved? It was really okay, interesting.
Yeah, we made the movie, we finished it. I locked picture and sound, and 2 days later, Angel Studio called, and they said, "We have been watching you guys. We know that you're making this. This really feels like it would be in our wheelhouse. Can we see it?" I hadn't shown the movie to any other studio. I literally just finished it. And they kind of snuck in the house and were like, "Hey, can we have dinner together?" I'm like, "Okay, let's have dinner together." And then they're so committed to the theatrical model, which is every filmmaker's dream.
Sure.
This movie is coming out wide. And, maybe Focus would have released it, maybe Sony, but on a platform basis. And, it's just really hard to get a movie out wide anymore, a movie for grownups that's not Pixar or Marvel. So they've been a great partner that way. They're totally committed to getting people back in the cinema.
Great. Now it's interesting because the movie it covers a topic which was basically the church kind of like not really getting as involved against when Hitler took power. They weren't really involved in protecting people and stuff. Have you got any pushback from the church or from anyone else about about what this depicts? I mean, would they like scholars? Are there any scholars that say, well, that's not happened, or is it really pretty much like, oh, great, thanks for bringing this to our light, and we're looking more into this?
It's the second.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. No, I haven't had any pushback. It's all factual.
Hmm.
And in fact, what I've gotten is, wow, this looks an awful lot like what's been happening in America the last couple of years. So it's a chillingly familiar thing, the use of religious ideology to exert power instead of to spread love.
True. And I as a film critic, I'm not sure how much you dealt with film critics. I mean, we're sort of an agnostic, atheistic bunch just by nature. But I also have a lot of Christian friends, and I know there's a lot of there's a lot of love, there's a lot of like good stuff in there, and I feel like it's good. This movie kind of like shows that there are Christians who really want to, help and protect others, and hopefully they'll be vocal over the next 4 years to keep things good in this country.
Amen, brother. Listen,
Yeah.
we're going to have to be brave. We're all going to have to stand up for each other. And I firmly believe, this is not a sentimental line to me. I firmly believe that there's one undefeated weapon in the history of the world, and that's love. That if you're in a toxic relationship, if you have addiction, you look at any of society's ills, the thing that comes in to heal people is love. There's a person or a group that comes in and lovingly helps the person that's broken. If we keep doing that in every aspect of community, we will restore ourselves. But hatred and division, what does that lead to? It certainly doesn't lead to growth. It leads to the shrinkage of the soul. So I'm going to keep standing up for what I believe to be true, and that is that love wins.
And that's a great way to end this interview. Todd, such a nice, such a pleasure to meet you. And thanks for making this movie. It's like, again, it's hard to make movies like these days, and to make it on your own without a studio is very brave, very courageous right there. So hopefully people check it out and are interested in learning about this great man. So
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Edward.
And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words on the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sun.
I'm ready to meet my destiny.